Okay, so we're writing the timeline. I don't know what happened when I started filming this, but I lost a clip. Um, and so the intro to this originally looked really weird. Basically, I miss reading fantasy books. I read Fourth Wing back in like May or June. I can't remember exactly which month, but I read Fourth Wing and it was fine. It was a 3 star. I'm really excited for the second book just because I could guess the cliffhanger. So I kind of want to see if like the rest of the series is going to be as predictable. But I was like, I kind of miss fantasy. I read Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and I was like, dang, I really, really, really miss fantasy books. So this is me reading fantasy for the entire month of August because I can't do a read in a week. I did finish 3 books this last week, which was crazy because of this vlog that I'm doing. But typically it takes me about a week or two to read 1 or 2 books. But I've just been like shoveling them in. So now I'm going to show you all of the books that I plan on reading for this video. And then we have one more timeline correction to make. The first one that also kind of like sparked this video that I want to finish it by the end of the month is Assistant to the Villain. This one is by Hannah May on TikTok. Another one, which I actually have a Q&A event to go to today. It's like a virtual event, and that is Belladonna. Haven't read it, but Foxglove comes out on Tuesday the 22nd. I have a calendar up there because I don't know what days are. And I have not read Belladonna, but I've seen nothing but good things about it since the book came out. Another physical one is Masters of Death. This book came out earlier in the month of August, but I think I've had it since July. It's like 250 pages. That's not horrible. But all I know is that it is a cast of magical characters that are trying to like sell a haunted house. That pitch to me, reading the inside flap, just seems so wonky, so funny and wild that I cannot resist. Howdy, timeline correction. I read 2 books in a trilogy. I'm currently waiting on the 3rd book to come from the library, but I had clips of them, don't know where they went. They're just not here. So I read the Regency Fae trilogy, well, 2 books out of the trilogy, which is Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. This book series is so cute and so whimsical and the epitome of cozy, low stakes fantasy. Think soft Bridgerton meets a fantasy world. I loved the first book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I did not love the second book as much, but it was still entertaining. So the first book, Half a Soul, you're following Adora, and she had a run-in with a fae when she was a small child, and he stole half of her soul. Dora and her cousin plan a trip to go to London, and they use the cover of "We want to be out in society and find husbands," but really they're trying to find a cure for Dora. It's all very fun, and I enjoyed every second of book 1. I even could stomach the epilogue. Like, I didn't really need that. It tells you how 2 characters met, but we already know how they met, so the short story was not needed for me. And then the second book, 10,000 Stitches, you're following different characters in the same world. You do have like 1 or 2 reoccurring characters from book 1 show up in book 2, but in book 2 you're following Effie, who is a maid, and she's fallen in love with like a gentleman. She knows that they have no hope of being together, so she strikes up a deal with a fae that you've met before, and basically she has 3 months to get someone to fall in love with her, marry her husband of choice, and then she just gets to live out her life as a lady. But if she fails, she goes back to fae, and she is a maid for the rest of her life. I did not love this one as much, simply because the second half of the book was way more entertaining than the first half, and it's not even like there was setup, really. The second part of the book's conflict was just like dropped in there, like not really explained, and I wish that they had explained it more. I wish that they had like talked about it more or hinted at it a little bit in the first half of the book. I also don't like the actual romantic love in this book. I wish it would have stayed platonic. I just didn't get the swoony, heart-pumping, like, oh my gosh vibes like I did from book 1, where there was adventure and there was romance. Whereas this one, there was just like out of nowhere romance with the storyline. Olivia Atwater also does this thing in her books where instead of the second book being about characters that we've seen before, like a side character or something, she'll wrap up their story in like the last chapter or the epilogue. She'll just say what happened to them, very fairy book style. Like, I personally don't like that. I like it when authors leave a little bit of wiggle room for the characters to come back in stories, and like for us to witness those stories unfold on page. But I can understand why she's like, I'm done, I want to write something else. Belladonna took so long to download that I was like, okay, let me just like find something to start reading. There are two books. I think it's Fate of the Ruby Throne and The Fortune of the Emerald Salt. That is a duology I saw an author on TikTok promoting, and then yeah, I'm gonna hope Belladonna hurry ups and downloads, because I'm 2 chapters into the book physically, and I just feel like once I start listening to the audiobook, it'll jumpstart me reading the physical book. That's usually how it goes sometimes. Okay, I'm downstairs on my couch. I'm listening to the audiobook and like flipping through as I go, and I've tabbed a couple of things because they're funny, but they're also like, it's deep, it's gothic, it's haunting, it's like death obsessed. I'm probably gonna like annotate the shit out of this one and book 2, so that when, I think Wisteria, it's Belladonna, Foxglove, Wisteria. Even the names are haunting. Okay, look at those tabs that I have in there. This is definitely it. I'm not even like 30% of the way through. I think I'm gonna check in like at the 50% mark and see what happens. The declaration of love is declaration of loving. 331 pages in. These are falling because I'm freaking out. When you look up Belladonna, this is the quote. This is the quote that everybody's gonna be like, this is it. But when you understand the context around it, hold on. Because I have waited an eternity to meet you, Signifaro. To me, you are a song to a soul that has never known music, light to someone who has only seen the darkness. You bring out the worst in me, and I become vindictive towards those who treat you in a way I do not much care for. I'm almost out of fucking tabs because of this book. Foxglove comes out in like 2 days, and I don't think I can contain my excitement. This is new adult. This is everything that new adult should be and is. It is gothic, it is horrific, but it is bone crushingly beautiful. Okay, we're back to the mystery. I'll take my sweater off because I was like freaking out a little bit. We're back to the mystery part. Some shit ain't clicking together though. Something's not clicking. Okay, so it is like 4 p.m. I did not go to sleep until 4. Actually, that's a lie. I finished Belladonna at 4 a.m. I did not go to sleep until 5 a.m. because I was obsessing over scenes, over characters, over fan art. I would give this a 6 out of 5 if I could. Like 6 out of 5 stars. Very few books hit that realm for me. All of Chloe Lisa's books, Love Theoretically, The Cruel Prince, Raybearer, like all of those are 6 out of 5 books, and this one has just entered the fucking chat. There's a full like plot summary because I've been given it in pieces and it's kind of stupid. You're following Signifaro, who since she was a baby has been very close to death, just like she sees death as a person, as an entity. He's always around. She has family members who die in like really weird, horrific ways, just suddenly out of nowhere. Because of this, she's had a reputation of she's a witch. There's something spooky happening with her. Every person who has ever taken her in has only done so because when she turns 20, she's set to inherit like her family's fortune and estate. So, and the people who take care of her get paid. It's a letter from her uncle-in-law that is like, hey, we didn't know that you existed. we want to take care of you, we want you here, we don't care about your inheritance. Like, he's like, okay, this is like my last chance to be with family, to enter high society. She gets there and a murder mystery is waiting for her. There's poisoning, there is sneaky characters. Like, the word gothic and atmospheric could not be used enough for this book. Very slow in the building up of like tension and the world and the plot, but I would say once you're like 100 pages in, like it's go go go. And I know that sounds like a lot. Like, the page 99 rule exists for a reason for most books. Foxglove comes out in 4 days. Definitely be picking up a copy of Foxglove and starting it. Don't know if I think I should listen to the audiobook as well, because the audiobook was so good. I really thought I would be sick of fantasy after just reading it all month. Maybe I am. I'm not. And then this is gonna be the next one. I'm so fucking excited. Hey, bit of an update. Because I was like MIA for 2 days, and then I started editing and we fixed some things, but we're back. What have I read? I finished Belladonna, as you know, and then I didn't know what to read, and I was waffling, and I was almost gonna just like call it a quits, but then I looked through the library's catalog and I found, I don't know how to talk about this book without getting this video taken down on here or on TikTok. Anyways, I found Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nacosta. Her books are set in a world in which monsters and humans cohabitate. They live together. There are towns where it's mostly like creatures and humans, only creatures, only humans type of thing. And I really liked the world of Cambridge Creek. I really liked the world of the monster bait. I think it's like cute. I think it's whimsical. It's really fun. I didn't like the spice or the romance that went on in the story. There were weird dialogue cuts. I listened to the audiobook, so you basically were listening to dialogue that happened off page, but then they would bring it back into the story. And there are really weird time cuts that I didn't like. Like, a week would turn into 2 weeks, and then a day, and then a month later, and then we're going back in time to a month prior. Like, we were never present with the couple or with the story. Like, we were always, it was third person, so we were always getting told what happened, never really being in the moment, except for the spice, which I'm gonna put that in the not for me category. Not to say that I don't like monster romances, absolutely love them. In fact, like Omegaverse and the like Deal with the Demon series, and there's another series and I can't remember what it's called, but it's like an older one. Those are some of my favorites. But this one, I just don't think it was for me. Hello, you are very far down. Hang on. My friend was watching me edit one time, and she asked why I sit in the same spot in my room. Like, do I need to blink twice if I'm being held hostage or something? And I was like, no, I'm just like a floor child. To God, it's not too. It's 1:37 in the morning. I hate doing closing shifts because then I don't get to like update you guys until 1 a.m. and then I want to go to bed. I have been book journaling while reading books. Like, you're not gonna tell me this shit's not fucking cute. I am on chapter 12 of Foxglove, which is like 108 pages in. I'm sorry, met in another life. Another life. There is a storm, but that is not stopping me from reading this book. In fact, it is adding to the ambiance. I'm not on Blythe's side. I'm at page 229. I'm not on Blythe's side. Like, I'm not rooting for Blythe right now. Update. There's a breeze going on because there was a storm yesterday, so the fan stays on. I've been updating my reading journal a lot. I am super excited. I found out that the hyperlinks do in fact work. I kind of fucked that up though. So, I absolutely loved reading fantasy books for an entire month. This is like an early wrap up kind of thing. I loved reading fantasy books for an entire month. I have read the most consistently and like the most pages in forever, actually, and I've had so much fun with all of the books that I'm reading. There were a couple that I DNF'd, but I didn't feel like I had to push myself to read those. Another thing that this has made me notice is that like a lot of the popular YA fantasies, at least were can I speak? A lot of the popular YA fantasies right now are all set in like 18th century Europe, some of the like regular fantasies as well. And I'm kind of getting bored with those. I want to visit different places in the world when it comes to fantasy, especially like if they're gonna be set in historic times or even like urban fantasy, modern touches, whatever. So I have a couple on my TBR that I'm definitely pushing up, like We Hunt the Flame. I don't think Beast of Prey is historical necessarily, but it is a fantasy, and I think it's an urban fantasy. Those are books that have been moved up because I'm like, I want to read those right fucking now. Foxglove, part 1, so good. The setup for the rest of the story, while part 1 is really long, the setup I think is going to be worth it at the end of the story, mainly because I believe this one leaves off on a cliffhanger for the ending of book 2 and the beginning of book 3. Feels so good to read this right before spooky season, in the middle of storm season. This is perfect. I will be screaming about this book from the high heavens. Oh my god. And then Assistant to the Villain. This one is perfect for like if you like Shrek, if you like Tangled, and if you had like the banter of just like whimsical funny fantasy, you will love this. Ella Enchanted World, you will absolutely love this. And I think I might watch Ella Enchanted and Tangled as I read this book because it's just so fucking funny. I'm only 6 chapters in. I thought I'd be reading this a lot faster than I am, but I don't know what's happening. I'm just like slowing down. I want to at least get to page 100. I feel like if I can get to page 100, I can like blast through the rest of it, you know? Have my coffee. I went to Scooter's. So good. But that be all. I'm sorry I'm so close to you, but this man is struggling. Fate is struggling. He is just a man in love who has lost love of his life. Oh my god. I have so many thoughts. I'm going to put this at the very, very end of the video, so if you care for spoilers of Belladonna and Foxglove and all of the theories, like that's going to be at the end. You can skip ahead, because I want to keep this as spoiler free as possible. 40. I was wrong. I was incorrect. But listen here, Blythe. Nope. I'm not marrying that man. I ain't doing it. I would not. I'd be like, sorry. No, you marry him. And not me. This is so sick and twisted. Sick and twisted. Ladies and gentlemen, I have finished Foxglove by Adalyn Grace. Oh my fucking god. So in the author's note right before the deleted chapter, because I don't really read the author's notes, but I did read this one. She had a different story for Fate and Death, Signa and Blythe. Originally she wanted multiple POVs, so Signa and Death and Blythe and maybe even Fate, because they were, isolated and so far apart from each other, but she decided to keep it just Signa and Blythe. I personally do not like Blythe. I think she's a brat. However, the ending of the story just works perfectly for them. And I'm excited to see where it goes in Wisteria. Is there going to be another murder mystery, or are we just going to be here? I will say that I wish that there were more hints and clues along the way of the murder mystery, but the twists and turns were well worth it. Okay, hey, here's an update. This might actually be my last update because I am getting not burnt out of fantasy books, but I do want to switch over to another genre, and if I stop it now, it'll give me time to edit, do a reading wrap up for August, because I haven't done a reading wrap up in so long. I can film one for TikTok and for YouTube, And honestly, I just kind of like want to pick up a different book outside of this because I've only been reading for this vlog and this update, and like the clips have, they've been clipping, you know. Quite literally, after I said that, the audio cut out. In the vlog, we're going to talk about all of the books that I read for this vlog, some books that I read after I was done like officially filming for it, and then at the very end I have spoiler-y thoughts for Foxglove. First up, we read Half a Soul. I love this book. Cozy, whimsical fantasy. I am so excited to make recommendation videos again because I've read so many, and like definitely Half a Soul will be on this list. It is Theodora and Eliza's story. I think that Theodora is neurodivergent coded. Don't know how or when, don't know if the author said that officially. Those are just my perceptions on it, and I think that's what made me love her more as a character, is because I could relate to her more. The second book was 10,000 Stitches. I liked that less than the first one. I think it was because there was like 2.5 hours left of the story, and we were finally getting to something that I loved. Like, we were finally getting to something that hooked me. The last half was so good, and I wish that was the whole book. I also don't love the romantic relationship in 10,000 Stitches. It is between Effie and a character you meet in book 1. Done correctly, platonic love in a book can be so much more powerful than romantic love, and Effie and this character are set up to be like platonic soulmates, best friends, kindred spirits. Like, I can just see them together laughing and learning and just exploring the fairy world together, but not in a romantic way. And then Belladonna and Foxglove. Literally, these two books made me fall back in love with mystery thrillers, gothic feeling stories, death as like a love interest. Very atmospheric. Very much I will be recommending this all the time, especially Belladonna. I think it was such a good story. Then I listened to Morning Glory Milking Farm. It was a 4-hour audiobook. It was a monster romance. It still put it under fantasy category. I'm going to put that one in the not for me category of monster romances. It was good. I just didn't like the jump cuts. I didn't like the time skips. I didn't like how we were never really present for anything except for the spice. And Violet's character took a complete 180 after she started working at the farm. Like, I am all for a sexually liberated woman, but oh god, this book was way too short to have like a full epiphany change as a person, you know? I did read Assistant to the Villain. I have not finished it yet. I really, really wanted to. I can tell I'm gonna love it. I can tell that it will probably be a very 3.5, 4-star book for me. I have been told that it leaves off on a cliffhanger, so I'm so happy I was prepared for that. I cannot express to you guys enough how fun it was to just read fantasy books, to read magic, to have like really weird worlds again. I absolutely loved it. And like, yes, most of these did have romance plot lines or subplots or whatever. The magic just took me back into my cozy little I want to keep reading fantasy mood. So am I gonna completely stop reading contemporary romance? Probably not, but fantasy romance is making a swing back in my life. And even some fantasies that have no romance in them, those can live too. Like, okay, so that's all from me. I'm gonna put all my socials at the end of the video, as well as some little spoily blooper clips from Foxglove if you want to stick around. If not, thank you so much. I have my monthly wrap-up coming out very, very soon, actually. I will see you guys in the next video. I don't care for Blythe as a character because she doesn't listen. She doesn't know that her Percy tried to kill her and killed her mother. So she doesn't know that, and so she's just blaming Cigna and blaming death, and I'm like, yo, granted, Percy dying, that was intense. But he tried to kill you, and you don't know that, and you don't care. The best friend from the first book, and she's in this book. I think Charlotte killed the Duke so she could get married. Can't stand Blythe and her perspective and fate and Blythe working together. I think they end up together, actually. Which, you know what? A snake for a snake. I'm finishing this book tonight. I don't even care that I gotta be up early in the morning. It's like 9 right now. I'm not stopping.